Welcome to Conversations. I'm Muqtadar Khan, your host. Today I'm going to talk to you about a big forthcoming speech by Donald Trump, the President of the United States, at 9 p.m., in which he has said he's going to make a big announcement about Iran. I don't know what big announcement he's going to make other than to say that he is ending this war and is planning to de escalate or withdraw from this because there is no other big announcement to make. There has been no resumption or shall we say, any formal dialogue that he ended with this war. They were having negotiations in Geneva, which were being moderated and mediated by Oman, and then the United States attacked Iran, even as Iran was agreeing to many of the conditions that Donald Trump wanted. And I will talk a little bit about that. But the first thing that I want to say is that Donald Trump has made two different announcements. Okay, they seem to be everything he says is quite contrary. So we should not be surprised that there seems to be some internal contradiction in his logic. One statement that he has made is that this war is going to end in 2 to 3 weeks. Well, the war has been going on for 4 weeks. He said it would be over in 4 weeks when he started off. And now he says 2 to 3, 4 weeks. So we're talking about 1 more month. So what does he hope to accomplish in this 1 month? We don't know. I'm assuming that he will say that we have achieved a lot of our goals, and there are some stuff that I need to accomplish in this 2 to 3 weeks. He is obviously not going to be able to compel the Iranians to open the Strait of Hormuz. And so what he's going to do is he's going to say, we're going to destroy a lot of Iran's conventional capabilities. We have already sunk a lot of his Iranian ships. We will sink whatever is left. We will destroy more of Iran's launchers. Also destroy the ability of the Iranian regime to, I guess, resist and suppress the protesters, because Israel has been targeting a lot of police stations in major cities and also targeting various, I guess, institutions of IRGC and Bazid, their internal security partner. So maybe they'll continue with that unless Donald Trump still wants to, he has been accumulating and amassing soldiers in the Middle East. And even as this talk of peace process, of negotiations, of ceasefire, probably ending this war in 2 to 3 weeks, the Pentagon continues to send more and more military assets into the region. At the rate it is going, it will have 17,000 new soldiers in the region, and some of them are supposedly specially trained paratroopers who have been practicing on how to capture islands. So there's also this possibility that Donald Trump might decide to attack and capture some of the islands, either in the Strait of Hormuz or the Karg Island itself. So it's not very clear. One of the, shall we say, characteristics of this war of Donald Trump's is that it has been, shall we say, the most prominent aspect is its lack of clarity, lack of strategic clarity, a lot of pomposity, a lot of big talk, and very little deliverance. Iranian regime was supposed to be removed by now. It was supposed to have collapsed. The masses were supposed to rise in opposition. And by now there should have been a regime change in Tehran. And by now this clown from Washington, D.C., this so-called Raza Pahlavi, who thinks of himself as the crown prince of Iran, even though there's no monarchy in Iran, hasn't been there so for more than 40 years. But anyway, so the assumption was that the regime will collapse and US and Israel will go and install a monarch in Tehran who will be subservient to Israeli national interests. That is his sole purpose, to advance Israeli interest in the region. But we'll see what Mr. Trump is going to do. A lot of things have happened, and I'm going to summarize them. But before that, let me share this particular tweet with Donald Trump. He says, this is a post in the Truth Social, Iran's new regime president, much less radicalized and far more intelligent than his predecessors, has just asked the United States of America for a ceasefire. We will consider when Hormuz Strait is open, free, and clear. Until then, we are blasting Iran into oblivion, or, as they say, back to the Stone Ages. Now, this was done at about 3 hours ago. So, if he says that the war is going to end in 2 or 3 weeks, does he assume that the Strait of Hormuz will be open in 2 or 3 weeks? Obviously not, because he has also made statements saying that the United States is going to end this war regardless of whether the Strait of Hormuz is free and open or not. The United States does not get any oil from the Strait of Hormuz. There are other countries that get, like China, India, many other countries. And he says those countries should go and open the Strait of Hormuz if they want that oil to come through. And I'm sure those countries will probably go and negotiate with Iran and come to some understanding. As Donald Trump himself says, that the new regime in Iran is much more reasonable and rational. But look at this. Apparently, he's assuming that there's a new regime in Iran. It's the same president. Iran's president has not changed. Masoud Pezeshkian was the president of Iran before this war started, and he is still the president of Iran. He's been the president of Iran since 2024. So what does Trump mean by saying that there is a new regime president? I guess it's the old president, but of the new regime. And much less radicalized, far more intelligent. This man is amazing. I mean, there's nothing to say but to laugh at the kind of stuff he says. So anyway, he's going to make a big speech today, and he's probably going to say that America has done wonderful things, has achieved a huge thing, has saved the world, has saved Israel, has saved the Western civilization from Iran, a country that has been under sanctions for 40 years, a country whose total economic GDP is 1/3 of the United States defense budget. Iran's GDP is less than $400 billion. It is like Pakistan, around $350 to $400 billion. The United States defense budget is $1 trillion. The Israeli economy is 1.5 times bigger than the Iranian economy at around $600+ billion. So a country with such a small economy, which is under severe sanctions, cannot buy this, cannot buy that, etc. And in spite of that, the United States has struggled to defeat it over a period of God knows what, 4 weeks. Yes, they have done a lot of damage. There is no doubt about it. And they have probably destroyed a lot of Iranian military assets, industrial assets. They've destroyed schools. They've bombed universities. They've killed several Iranians, more than 2,000 Iranians. By some estimates, more than 3,000. By some estimates, up to 6,000. Most of them civilians. And of course, they have decapitated the leadership. They have killed a few leaders, including the former Wilayat al-Faqih, the supreme leader, whose son is now the supreme leader, who has been quiet for a while, hasn't said anything, and has not shown himself. Apparently, there are some rumors that he's probably in Moscow getting treatment because he was injured in a bombing attack. So Donald Trump now is going to make this big grand speech. There's another thing that is going on in the United States. The Supreme Court is going to hear oral arguments with regards to the birthright citizenship issue today. The birthright citizenship is based on the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution, which essentially says that if you're born in the United States, you become an American citizen. And there is being an attempt. So what happens is there are some people who have exploited that. For example, people come here on vacations. When their wives get pregnant, they stay here, and then they have their baby, and the baby becomes a US citizen. Then they go back, and later on the baby then becomes a sponsor, and then people come back. So people feel that they have millions of people have exploited this birthright citizenship. There are people who are here as students and then they have kids and so on and so forth. So there are many such situations where they feel that, and of course, we are living in an era of white and Christian anxiety. They feel that the white population is decreasing in the so-called white world. Christianity is also going back, and Islam and other religions are beginning to dominate the West. The recent victory by Zohan Mamdani in New York, and so it just drives some, shall we say, ethno-nationalist, white supremacists absolutely crazy that some of the greatest cities in the West are now governed by children of immigrant Muslims. Zohan Mamdani in New York, and Sadiq Khan in London, for example. And so they are now getting worried. So they feel that the countries are, changing in a drastic way. And so this white anxiety, this white Christian anxiety is driving some of these rules. So there's an effort being made to roll back population of foreigners in this country, deportation, mass deportation, and in some places, they are even giving financial incentives. Just day before yesterday, the president of Germany, for example, Chancellor of Germany, Merz, announced while standing with the president of Syria that 80% of the Syrian immigrants who came to Syria from Syria to Germany after the civil war started in Syria will go back now. So they're just going to keep the doctors and engineers, and the rest have to go back. So there is this fear that there is a demographic shift taking place because of mass migration. So Donald Trump is going to talk about that. There's, what he's trying to do is essentially unconstitutional, like the tariffs, and the Supreme Court chucked it away. But he's trying to say that unless both your parents are citizens, you can't be a U.S. citizen if you're born in the U.S. Yeah, some people were joking that perhaps that would make Marco Rubio a non-U.S. citizen, so he should be deported too. But the example that Donald Trump has given is there's this billionaires. Apparently, there are some Chinese billionaires who are having hundreds of children through surrogate. So they're having many kids in America who are the American citizens. So there's some guy who is from Guangzhou who runs a tech company. He's a billionaire, and apparently he's having many kids in the hope of having several sons who are American born, who will inherit his empire. But there's a problem there, because if you are having children with American citizens, even if he's Chinese, but if the women who are giving birth to his children, if they are Americans, then those children will be American, even if the Supreme Court rules with Donald Trump and says that, okay, the parents are illegal, or migration, like temporarily here, they're just going through or on a vacation. So either they're here illegally or temporarily, then that kids will not be citizens. But if they're born to American-born citizens, right, then how can he block that? So that is a red herring. He's just trying to make people feel angry, and he's trying to put some pressure on the Supreme Court judges. And we'll see what happens with that decision. So today's speech at 9 p.m. that Donald Trump is going to give is probably, there's a pretty good chance that he's going to declare that we have won the war in Iran, we have achieved everything, we have obliterated everything. And he just state that he's pulling out or something like that. But the other part is that he is trying to mollify the markets. So if you notice that as soon as he announced that the US is going to leave within 2 to 3 weeks, the price of Brent oil went down from it was around 116 and 117. It went down to 101 or 102. So let me just tell you what the current, at the moment, it is 101.5. And the Dow Jones index and the S&P index, everything is up. So the stock market is going up because they feel that the war is ending. The Russell 2000 is up by 1.5%. The Nasdaq is up by 1.5%. Both S&P and the Dow Jones index is up by 1%. This is trillions of dollars of wealth being generated, I guess, on the stock market. So the Dow Jones index is still at 46. It was around 4950 when the war started. But there are two other things that are very important. One is inflation in the United States, which before the war was less than 3%. It was around 2.5, 2.7. And now it is going to go over 4. That is inflation in the United States. And that's a big issue because that deals directly with affordability and quality of life and cost of living. And the second thing is the price of gas, which drives inflation, is amazing. It has gone up by $1. So right now, gas at the pump is over $4 across the country. Diesel is more than $5.50 per gallon, and it is most of the industrial side of the manufacturing, etc., depends on diesel, not on petrol. So in many ways, Donald Trump has dealt a blow to American economy. And even if the war stops in the 2 or 3 weeks, and it takes another month for the oil markets to stabilize, etc., what you're going to see is that the United States GDP in 2026 is going to grow at a much lesser pace. There will be a decline. Definitely, they may not be negative GDP if the war stops in the next 2 weeks or even now. But you will see that the growth will be far less than it was predicted just in January. And besides that, I think the job growth will also be hurt. And so Donald Trump will have very little positive things to show by November come midterm. Already 36 members of his party who are in the House have decided not to run again. They are retiring from politics because they see no path to victory. And I'm not very sure that he will be able to entirely mobilize his own MAGA base because he has broken all promises that he made. He said, I will release the Epstein files, and all his administration has done is drag its feet and try its best to hide people who could be accused of pedophiles. Not one person has been arrested to date, while everybody seems to maintain, even in his own administration, that more than 1,000 underage girls have been sexually exploited in the country. Can you imagine more than 1,000 underage girls being sexually exploited and no one is yet arrested in this country for that? And then he promised repeatedly during the election that there would be no new wars, no regime change wars, no wars in the Middle East, no forever wars, and we seem to be one in one. Yesterday, some Republicans who are on the House Armed Forces Committee, I did testify to that committee once on the Iraq War. So in the closed session on the Pentagon's briefing, they came out very angry and very upset that the Pentagon's plans seem to be completely different from what Donald Trump has been telling the public. And they are really frightened that Donald Trump is going to have a ground invasion, and something that Iran is really looking forward to. Now, as far as negotiated settlement is concerned, because Donald Trump has announced that he's leaving in 2 to 3 weeks, all Iran has to do is to sit quietly for 2 to 3 weeks, and then this war is over. They don't have to negotiate. They don't have to make any concessions. They just hold on to the Strait of Hormuz. They will do as much damage as they can to some of the countries that are very close to the US, such as Saudi Arabia and UAE. And that's it. 3 weeks later, Donald Trump leaves and Iran survives. Iran will have a massive strategic victory. Right now, they have 3 things which are driving, they seem to have an upper hand, or rather 4 things. Number 1, they're holding on to the Strait of Hormuz. Number 2, Trump has lifted sanctions on, and they're selling oil freely at market price. Number 3, the regime has still survived in spite of all the efforts from Israel and the United States. And number 4, there's so much confusion in Donald Trump's head as to what he really wants to achieve here. And in a way, Iran has also dealt a blow against NATO. The refusal of NATO allies has really, really frustrated Donald Trump, and could be one of the reasons why he is so serious about leaving in this war and ending it because he's not getting any support from the European allies, and even the Gulf countries are refusing to participate in offense. Even Israel, for whom this war is being fought, there was absolutely nothing in the US interest to go to this war. There was no immediate threat to the United States. This was the general and broad understanding of the US intelligence community. This is a war of choice and primarily in the interest of Israel. And even Israel does not want to put boots on the ground. So only Americans are going to go and die. Europeans don't want to do it. The Gulfies don't want to do it. Israel doesn't want to do it. Trump, if he sends troops, then only Americans will be dying to advance Israeli hegemony in the Middle East. This is an absolute mess. I think Iran has become Donald Trump's Waterloo. And the US, the Gulf, many countries in the global south are going to pay a big price to keep Netanyahu out of prison and establish Israeli domination in the Middle East. Anyway, we'll listen to him, and after he finishes his speech, I'll come back and we will talk about what he had to say. So, meanwhile, thank you for watching Conversations. I'm your host, Muqtadar Khan. Do subscribe to the channel, like this video, press the bell icon, and don't forget to come back in the evening. We will talk about it. This will be probably around 10 p.m. US time, and that will be 7:30 a.m. India time. Take care.